Sometimes people take half-truth and put them together, and then it creates a misdirection or a diversion. You would have to be blind and deaf to not recognize that what is happening is not normal and is not justified. The only way that you can control people is by keeping them in ignorance. But as soon as a person becomes empowered with knowledge, the one thing is that nobody can control you once you're aware. You cannot be victimized once you're aware and once you've been empowered with knowledge.
Freedom of speech is the freedom to speak. If anyone's not allowed to speak, then it's not freedom of speech, it's freedom to conform to certain parameters of what are acceptable. And then what that's doing is giving power to some authority to decide what is acceptable and what is not acceptable.
The world is manipulated by a web, and think of a web, a spider's web, and at the center of the web, you've got the spider. That spider is the non-human force. Around the spider are the most exclusive secret societies, and people in them you've probably never heard of. They're the people really running this cult from the inner sanctum.
Once you give that power to an authority, it then starts interpreting what can and cannot be said. It's simply manipulating the target population to silence itself. Entrepreneurs, if you like, who are genuine, who believe in freedom of speech, they have a fantastic opportunity here and can make an enormous contribution to human freedom. When you look at a human life, it is a download of the official version of everything. That's what it is. This is why vast numbers of people have no other filter for their view of reality, self, world events, than the information they receive from the mainstream media and mainstream everything. You tell me what I've told you, and I'll give you a prize. You tell me what I've not told you because you've got a mind of your own and you're questioning it, and I'll ring your mum and dad and say you're a disruptive influence in the classroom. We keep each other in line by ridicule and condemnation for the crime of being different or questioning the norm. And how has anything ever moved forward in the entirety of human history, ironically? People questioning the norm. Because if you don't question the norm, you go into an eddy or vortex and you go round and round and round and nothing moves on and nothing expands. But that's the idea. You cannot control a population of critical thinking, free-thinking people, questioning people, in the way that you can control a population that just accepts, like a sponge, the official version of everything. When you go through the level of ridicule, one of two things happens. Either it destroys you, and you withdraw from the world, or you let go of the prison that most people live in, which is the fear of what other people think. Most people are not living their lives. They're not living who they are. They're living what they think others think they should be. And therefore, they're living a lie. They're living someone else's version of them. If you have people around you who so disrespect your right to be you that they give you a hard time, don't surround yourself with people who respect your right to be you. I don't care if they're family, I don't care who they are. If they don't respect your right to be you, then what are you doing interacting with them all the time? It's just going to make you depressed, it's going to make you frustrated. Walk away. And if they then come round, great. But if they don't, well, equally great. Only express your true, unique self if you refuse to let anyone impact and suppress that expression of your true, unique self.
The world was not run by the forces that we thought it was run by. If you think of a pyramid, At the top of the pyramid, you've got a tiny few people, which we now have a name for, the 1%. And if you look at how a handful of people now have the same wealth as the poorest half of the population, you can see the 1% ain't kidding you. At the bottom of this pyramid is pretty much the rest of humanity in deprivation, and this is the word, in dependency of the 1%, because they don't have independent income. And between the 1% and the rest of the population, pretty much, is designed to be a vicious police military state to impose the will of the 1% upon the population and to stop the population rebelling against the 1%. And just to finish the point, this pyramid structure, the Hunger Games Society, again, been saying it for so long, is designed to be run not by elected politicians, but by technocrats. Around the year 2030, humans will start to have their brains connected to AI. Now, if you look at that, mate, and then you look at the consequences of current events, then you can see that Hunger Games society is vastly closer now than it was only weeks ago when this whole virus hysteria began. If you said to people, when you look through your eyes, can you see everything that exists in the space you're looking at? What they're going to say? They're going to say yes. But they can't. What we call the world is a ridiculously narrow band of frequency called visible light and the electromagnetic spectrum. And according to mainstream science, the electromagnetic spectrum and visible light, which is the only world reality that we can see, is a smear of the electromagnetic spectrum. That spectrum, never mind visible light, represents about 0.005% of what exists in the universe. So we don't live in a world. We live in a band of frequency which our body brain can decode into a reality, a holographic reality. And therefore, infinity exists outside this narrow band of frequency, that we can't see it, just as when you're tuned to a radio station or a television station, you only experience that frequency, that station, that reality. What happens when you switch the zapper is you switch to a different, if you like, frequency, and you get a different reality instantly. We call them different channels. Now, these different realities operate in different bands of frequency. And just like radio frequencies, etc., these bands of frequency, as long as they're not too close on the dial to each other when you get interference, they can share the same space without being affecting all the others, and each one not even being aware that all the others exist. So we are basically experiencing a holographic television channel, which we call the world. And outside of that, all the other realities of infinite reality. And only when these realities get close on the dial do you get interference. And one of those areas of interference is what we call ghosts and paranormal things and such like. They can expand their frequency range that they can connect with beyond the normal range of human frequency. And they can tap in to frequencies that are outside of the normal human range, and you can pick up information from outside there that's not available here. Anybody can do it. It's just that this cult don't want us to do it, and that's why we're constantly pressured to perceive the world only through the five senses, which means only through this narrow band of frequency called visible light. To understand what is going on, we have to have some understanding of the nature of reality. Because if we don't, we will, quite understandably, dismiss things that are happening, but we can't perceive how they could happen. You believe the world is actually solid. Our bodies are solid, that wall is solid and not a holographic, illusory, physical. Then if the world is solid, then people moving between different shapes, what they call shapeshifting, is impossible. You can't shapeshift solidity, it's ridiculous. But if you believe the world is solid, immediately you hear some of the things that I say, they're immediately dismissed. Not possible. Well, hold on. If you look at computers and the technological Wi-Fi world we live in now, what you're looking at is a technological reality that mimics real reality, our experienced reality, and how we create it. So, you've got a Wi-Fi field. Okay, where is it? Where's the Wi-Fi field? Point it out to me. Well, I can't, because you can't see it, right? Now, if you didn't know about computers, and I said to you, there is a field of information that we're living in, like a sea, people would say, well, where is it? I can't see it. Therefore, it can't exist. But because people know about computers, you say, you know, there's a field of information, and you can decode, oh yeah, I know about that Wi-Fi, that's right. And the only difference between that's rubbish, mate, and, oh yeah, I know about that, is knowledge.